Honestly, it's been a lot of nonsense. I think in my 11-year career, I've never experienced the racial comments from the Indiana Fever fan base, and yeah, there's no place for it. And we've been professional throughout the whole entire thing, but I've never been called the things that I've been called on social media, and there's no place for it. You know, we come to play basketball for our job, and it's fun, but we don't want to go to work every day and have social media blown up over things like that. It's uncalled for, and something needs to be done.
Did Alyssa Thomas really say that about Caitlin Clark's fans? The WNBA just exploded with drama, and you won't believe what went down. Thomas dropped a bomb after their playoff game, accusing Fever fans of crossing a line. But here's the crazy part. Now she's the one getting suspended. What's really going on here? Let's talk about this playoff game that started it all. The Connecticut Sun and Indiana Fever were facing off, and the arena was on fire.
If they had played a road game, it would have been in Indiana. She goes into an arena. Is social media there waiting for her as she walks through security? The Indiana Fever don't have to do something to get you away from social media. Put your phone down. Don't download the apps. Don't engage. We all know what this really is. It's an attack on Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark's the wrong face for this league because her fans are so racist.
Everyone was pumped to see Alyssa Thomas and rookie sensation Caitlin Clark go head-to-head. These two are like basketball superheroes, and fans couldn't wait to see them battle it out. But you know what's crazier? In Game 1, things got physical. DiJonai Carrington accidentally poked Clark in the eye. Ouch. Both players said it wasn't on purpose, but it definitely added some spice to an already heated matchup. After the game, though, that's when things went nuclear.
Lately, circling back on the play with your eye, what would you say to the crowd of people that think a hit like that was intentional and maybe even warrants a suspension?
It wasn't intentional by any means. You just watched the play. It wasn't intentional.
Looks like the eye's better. Do you feel anything? Any pain issues?
It feels good. I don't know. It looks okay too, so I'm glad.
Thomas said something that turned the whole WNBA upside down. What could she have said that was so shocking? And why did it end with her getting suspended? This story is about to get wild. Remember how tense that game was? Well, the real fireworks came after the final buzzer. Thomas stepped up to the mic and dropped a bombshell that no one saw coming. Her post-game statement wasn't just shocking, it was a direct challenge to the WNBA and its fans. So what exactly did Alyssa Thomas say that turned the basketball world upside down? She didn't hold back, that's for sure. Thomas straight up accused Fever fans of crossing a major line.
Instagram wasn't there waiting for me. Instagram and Twitter, these are choices we make. It could have been somebody from Connecticut pretending to be an Indiana Fever fan, or someone from Connecticut who doesn't like you because you're a whiny victim 24/7. In my 11 years, I've never dealt with what I've dealt with. You know why? Because no one cared about your league before Caitlin Clark.
Here's what she said, word for word. We don't want fans that are going to degrade us and call us racial names. Whoa, let that sink in for a second. Thomas, an 11-year veteran of the league, claimed she'd never experienced anything like this before. That's huge. We're talking about a player who's been through countless games, faced all kinds of crowds, and now she's saying this? It's not just a complaint, it's a serious accusation that could change how we look at fan behavior in the WNBA. As you can imagine, social media went absolutely nuts. Fans were split. Some were backing Thomas 100%, saying it's about time someone spoke up. Others were skeptical, wondering if there was more to the story. Players from other teams started chiming in, sharing their own experiences or showing support for Thomas. But here's where things get even crazier.
I ran into people who were born in the 40s a couple of weeks ago that were telling me it's worse now than it was in the 60s. But knowing how our society can be, we see the ugliness that exists in certain parts of the country. All I'm saying is you can't ignore it. This is a perfect example, a small one, but nevertheless a perfect example of illuminating the kind of society that we're still living in, no matter how far forward we have moved.
Some critics started pointing out that Thomas didn't give any specific examples of what happened. They were asking, where's the proof? Did she hear something directly, or was it secondhand? It's a tough situation because racial slurs are super serious, but without concrete evidence, it becomes a he said, she said situation. The WNBA couldn't ignore this. They had to respond, and fast. So they put out a statement condemning racist comments and threats. They made it clear that this kind of behavior wouldn't be tolerated, and that league security would be watching things closely. But here's the thing, the league's statement was kind of vague. They didn't directly address Thomas's claims or say if they found any evidence to back them up. It was more of a general racism is bad message, which left a lot of people wondering what was really going on behind the scenes. This whole situation is like a powder keg. You've got accusations of racism, questions about evidence, and a league trying to keep things under control. It's not just about one game or one player anymore. This could change how the WNBA handles fan interactions and player safety going forward.
I've been on Twitter since 2009 or 8, somewhere around there. The abuse, the things that are said and have been said about me will be said about me today. Turn to your teammate and say, hey, cut it out. But that's not what she's going to do or anybody's going to do. They're all going to, oh, it's Caitlin Clark, it's her fans. And now that Caitlin Clark has exited, they'll get to deal with the traveling gay sex cult that they're comfortable with.
And you know what makes this even more complicated? The timing. This all went down right in the middle of a heated playoff series. Was Thomas trying to fire up her team? Was she genuinely shocked by what she heard? Or was there something else going on that we don't know about yet? Hold up though. This story's about to take a wild turn. Remember how Thomas's comment set the basketball world on fire? Well, the WNBA's response was like throwing gasoline on that flame. What move did they make that had everyone questioning everything? The league dropped a bombshell that no one saw coming. Alyssa Thomas got suspended. That's right. The player who made the accusations ended up facing consequences herself. It's like the WNBA pulled a reverse Uno card on this whole situation. So why did they suspend Thomas? The official reason was for her controversial comments about the Indiana Fever fan base after that intense playoff game. But here's the thing, nobody expected this to happen. It's not like players get suspended for speaking their mind all the time, right? The reaction to Thomas's suspension was like a basketball game itself, back and forth with both sides going hard. Some fans were cheering, saying it was about time someone faced consequences for making such serious accusations without proof. Others were furious, arguing that the WNBA was punishing a player for speaking out against racism. And the players? They were just as divided. Some backed Thomas, saying the league was trying to silence important conversations about fan behavior. Others were more cautious, probably worried about how this might affect their own interactions with the media.
We live in a world today. Think about the climate that exists. Think about how unhealthy and divisive our climate is in today's day and age. They're saying it's worse now than it was then.
Racial tension.
Racial tension, okay? So you see this girl, Caitlin Clark, and this is not her fault. It's not her fault. We won't go back. We won't go back. Don't let us go back. There's certain people that want us to go back to a different time, blah, blah, blah. We've heard all of that.
But here's where things get really interesting. Some people started wondering if there was more to this story than meets the eye. They pointed out that Thomas had been struggling in the playoffs, especially against the Minnesota Lynx. Was her accusation just a way to distract from her poor performance on the court? It's a tough question to answer. On one hand, Thomas is a veteran player with a solid reputation. On the other hand, making such a serious claim without providing evidence is a big deal. It's like accusing someone of a foul without the ref seeing it. You better have some proof to back it up. Now let's talk about what this means for the Connecticut Sun. Losing Thomas to suspension is like trying to play without one of your star players. Oh wait, that's exactly what it is. The Sun are going to have to seriously adjust their game plan if they want to stay competitive without her on the court. But the impact of this suspension goes way beyond just one team or one series. This whole situation might change how players handle post-game interviews in the future. you can bet that players are going to think twice before making any kind of accusation, no matter how fired up they are after a game. Players might be more careful with their words now. But here's the real question. Is the WNBA ready for what's coming next? The league is changing fast, and not everyone's happy about it. This Alyssa Thomas situation, it's just the tip of the iceberg. There's a storm brewing in the WNBA, and it's way bigger than any one player or team. Let's talk about what's really going on here. This isn't just about a heated playoff game or some post-game comments. We're seeing a clash between the old WNBA and the new one, and it's getting intense. Players are facing challenges they've never dealt with before, both on and off the court. Remember how Thomas said she'd never experienced anything like this in her 11-year career? That's huge. It shows how much things have changed, and not all of it's good. Players are dealing with more pressure, more attention, and unfortunately, more hate than ever before. Take DiJonai Carrington, Thomas's teammate. She shared a screenshot of a racial slur and a threat she got on social media. Can you imagine dealing with that kind of hate just for doing your job? It's crazy, and it's becoming way too common. The WNBA is trying to handle all this, but they're struggling. Commissioner Cathy Engelbert got a lot of heat for not directly addressing the racial comments made against players. She focused on the physical nature of the games instead, which didn't sit well with a lot of people. Engelbert did try to clarify later, saying, "To be clear, there is absolutely no place for hate or racism of any kind in the WNBA or anywhere else." But for many, it felt like too little, too late. People are wondering if the league is really prepared to protect its players in this new era. And let's talk about the fans. The WNBA is getting more popular than ever, especially with stars like Caitlin Clark coming in. That's awesome, right? More fans, more attention, more growth for the league. But it's also bringing in people who might not understand or respect the culture of women's basketball. Stephanie White, the Suns coach, put it perfectly. "We've allowed trolls in social media to frame the narrative of what the story is, and it's unacceptable." She's right. The conversation around the WNBA is changing, and not always for the better. Thomas herself said something really important. We don't want to go to work every day and have social media blown up over things like that. Think about that. These players just want to play basketball, but now they're dealing with all this extra drama and hate. Even Caitlin Clark, who's bringing in so many new fans, has had to speak out against people using her name to spread hate. She said, "Everybody in our world deserves the same amount of respect." It's sad that she even has to say that, but it shows how complex this situation is. So what does all this mean for the future of the WNBA? It's clear that things can't stay the same. The league needs to step up and find new ways to protect its players, both on the court and online. They need to set clear boundaries for fan behavior and enforce them. But it's not just about rules and punishments. The WNBA needs to educate its new fans about the history and culture of women's basketball. They need to make it clear that this league is about respect, skill, and competition, not hate and drama. Wow, the WNBA is in for a wild ride after all this drama. Thomas's suspension is just the beginning. The league's got to figure out how to handle these new challenges fast. Think about it. More fans means more attention, but also more problem. How can they keep players safe from online hate? And what about those rowdy crowds? The WNBA needs to step up its game. Imagine if they don't fix this stuff. Players might start holding back in interviews, fans could get even crazier, and the whole vibe of women's basketball could change. That's not what anyone wants. Here's the thing. The WNBA is all about respect and skill. They need to make sure everyone, from the new fans to the old school players, gets that message. It's time for the league to show what it's really made of.